Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Every morning, no matter how late he had been up, my father rose at 5:30, went to his study, wrote for a couple of hours, made us all breakfast, read the paper with my mother, and then went back to work for the rest of the morning. Many years passed before I realized that he did this for a living. Thus, a country might possess a sizable rural population, but have an economic system in which the interests of the voters were predominantly related to their incomes, not to their occupations or location, and in such a country the political system would be unlikely to include an important agrarian party. This finding is understandable in certain cases in spite of its high significance. That is because energy efficiency of building operation just represents a single aspect of sustainability. The starting point of Bergson's theory is the experience of time and motion. Time is the reality we experience most directly, but this doesn't mean that we can capture this experience mentally. The past is gone and the future is yet to come. The only reality is the present, which is real through our experience. In a genuine republic, the will of the government is dependent on the will of the society, and the will of the society is dependent on the reason of the society. In Federalist 51, for example, James Madison claimed that the extent and structure of the government of the United States make it dependent on the will of the society. the climate for doing business improved in Egypt more than in any other country last year, according to a global study that revealed a wave of company-oriented reforms across the Middle East. The World Bank rankings, which look at business regulations, also showed that the pace of business reforms in Eastern Europe was overtaking East Asia. Shoppers hoping to bag a bargain in the post-Christmas sales are much less likely to go through with their purchases if they are using phones and tablets to buy goods online. Australia has one of the world's most important mining industries. It is a major exporter of coal, iron ore, gold and copper, and is self-sufficient in all minerals bar petroleum. Since the first discoveries, the coal in 1798, mineral production has risen every year. In the decade to 1992 it doubled. Does it feel like everywhere you turn there's more food? Fast food joints like McDonald's and Taco Bell abound. And big box stores like Costco, Walmart and Target sell mounds of groceries. Just the slightest pang of hunger and around the corner there's another restaurant or retailer enticing us to buy more food. A clean environment is crucial for the health and well-being of all living beings. It helps to reduce the spread of diseases and promote better sanitation. Clean air and water are essential resources for a sustainable future. A clean environment also supports biodiversity and the preservation of natural ecosystems.
With revenue from college football at an unprecedented $3.4 billion annually, universities across the country invest millions each year in recruitment efforts for high school football players. But with talented players typically receiving multiple scholarship offers, team rosters are in limbo until student athletes commit to a university. For example, students might try to enroll for the free year despite having previously studied and therefore being ineligible. The report said the government held no records of study from before 2003 in order to verify eligibility, meaning it would have to rely on students' declarations. To some extent, attendance at cultural venues and events is influenced by a person's age and the composition of the household in which they live. For example, those people in households with dependent children were more likely to visit zoological parks and aquariums than people living in single-person households. Human activities are exposing U.S. rivers and streams to a cocktail of salts, with consequences for infrastructure and drinking water supplies. So, reports a new study that is the first to assess the combined, long-term changes in freshwater salinity and alkalization across the country. Yet this landscape, which appeared so alien and confronting to the white settlers and explorers, had been home for thousands of years to indigenous Australians for whom the plains, ranges and deserts were a sustaining, spiritual and integral part of their existence. Never before has the world of journalism been so explosive, so global, and so competitive. Forget hourly news flashes. We live in a world of 24-hour breaking news, with radio and TV stations and internet news sites updating stories by the minute. Electronic discourse is one form of interactive electronic communication. In this study, we reserve the term for the two-directional texts in which one person using a keyboard writes language that appears on the sender's monitor and is transmitted to the monitor of a recipient, who responds by keyboard. At a time when stress levels are soaring, rates of depression are increasing and the gap between rich and poor is ever widening. We believe that giving can play a positive role in helping people to feel connected to those around them and generate a sense of purpose and hope. When we give, we feel valued, useful and happy.
Audio Jungle.